Esther here. Welcome to my channel. Oh, this has been a very long overdue. June has been a very weird month for me. It started with a vacation in Italy where I experienced 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. I was sunbathing on a beach, drinking wine, and then I came back home. And as I came home, I live in Northern Europe, and for the rest of the June here, we have been enjoying 16, 17, up to 20 degrees Celsius. Because of that, my monthly tray is not what I was planning in the beginning. I wanted to wear fresh aromatic scents, and in the end you'll see that it is not what I've been wearing. It is a hodgepodge of things, so let's get into it and you will see. So as I said, since I went to holiday right in the beginning of the month, I really wanted to try the new release, which is Fico by L'Erbolario. So this is a wonderful, not sweet, sort of green woody fig. So we have a fig note here, there's cassis, a little bit of milky quality from coconut water, there's cedar wood and a little bit of mandarin in the opening. Altogether, it's very green, aromatic. I would say if there is any sweetness, it's very mild and mostly from the coconut water. And it is very unisex. I think it's wonderful for that kind of a heat. And while I was on my vacation, I made a little bit of a dent. These actually are my first fig scents. I'm very late on a fig bandwagon. When I was on holiday, I fell in love with this 4711 fig and vetiver. Let me say, vetiver is not the note I'm drawn to, but this is so wonderful. It has a very bright opening. It kind of gives me as though it's citrusy. Well, there are no citruses, I think. So I get a fig leaves and flesh of a fig fruit in here. I get the woodiness, and in very dry down, it gives me almost sandalwoody creaminess, but it's so wonderful. It's not sweet at all. I would rather describe it more of a fruity, woody kind of a green, woody scent. It is very unisex and very lovely for that kind of heat. I'm very surprised that I fell in love with it, because when I went to a store, I wanted to try 4711 scents, and there were different ones that I actually wanted to try, and I fell in love. And I went back to a store, got the bottle, and I already have a dent, and I think I will need a bigger bottle. Let's talk about the last fig scent on this tray. I'm not really sure, is it Meraki? Is it the right way to pronounce it? So this is the brand. Put it here. So if we compare this fig to the previous ones, this is much more sweet. So if I could describe it how it smells to me, let's imagine a plate. And on this plate, we have fig fruits, wild strawberries, and blackcurrant. So if you would imagine really fresh, real fruits, not jammy ones, not covered with sugar. Imagine if plate is not something gives you a vibe. Imagine going to a market where you have fresh fruits. So fresh fruits smell sour sweet. You know, there's sweetness, but there are also sour nuances to it. And now to this, add a sort of almost powdery veil of iris and violet. There is also a patchouli and sandalwood in the base. So altogether, it's very interestingly equally fruity, equally creamy, and equally powdery scent. It's very unique and interesting. If I would say which notes are the most prominent to me, I would say the iris, the fig, and most prominent is wild strawberries. If you are looking for a wild strawberry note in fragrances, I would highly suggest to try it. It is very interesting and very lovely. So because of that strawberry note, I would say that this is more feminine leaning in comparison to the other two. So as I went back to that cold, rainy weather, I really wanted something that's a sweater weather kind of blanket scent, and I went for Safanad. I love this scent. Though it is a orange blossom scent, I would say that to me this is a orange blossom that's wrapped in a bouquet of iris. It is very classy and powdery. To me, the iris note is very prominent, and I get a little bit of orange and pear in the opening that gives a juicy kind of brightness, but altogether it really is, to me at least, in a dry down overall, as a classy powdery fragrance that kind of, I imagine it as a cashmere scarf or something. So whenever I really wanted to feel cozy, I was wearing this. And as I wanted to wear more of the iris, I also wanted more of a lipsticky scent. So I was wearing a lot of Iris Crush. So this is a fragrance, a lipstick in a bottle. It opens up with very bright and fresh Frisian, rolling pink pepper. But through these very bright notes, you get sort of buttery lipstick. So there is actually a lipstick note in this fragrance, also iris and heliotrope. And it is really a lipstick in a bottle. It is so enveloping and creamy and absolutely divine. If you like lipstick scents, I highly encourage you to try it. Another lipstick that I absolutely adore is Incarnata by Anatole Lebreton. This fragrance doesn't have an iris there, there's a violet note, but there are two levels to this fragrance. So to me, this is a very wet kind of an lipstick, you know, as though the lipstick is not, you know, it's not the dried out kind of a lipstick. I would say it's a wet, almost, you know, slightly melted in the sun kind of a lipstick. It opens up with very, very fresh, to my nose, sour raspberries. If you are into lipsticky scents, just try it out. It's very unique. If you have tried Lipstick Fever from Julia Has a Gun. This is what I was expecting from that scent. Like, if the raspberry is not enough in Juliet Has a Gun, try this one. Raspberry note is very prominent in this fragrance. Yes, I absolutely adore it. I have a dent. I love that one. And while we are still on powdery scents, I was testing out Carmina. This fragrance has surprised me, I would say. Reason being because in the opening, for me personally, it has a very punchy, juicy cherry with saffron. And I'm not a huge fan of these two notes. I'm not into cherries, and saffron can be quite tricky for me. So the opening is way too punchy for me. But the dry down, so this fragrance has notes of violet, cashmeran, and peony. So in the dry down, I kind of have this almost fresh peonies in a powdery way. It is very soft. While it's very punchy in the opening, the dry down, it's so lovely and so soft on my skin that I actually have been enjoying it in those very rainy days. Also, on those rainy days, I've been wanting to wear something nice, maybe not very complex, just smell nice and enjoy the day. Because those rainfalls, wind, it has been quite of a autumn feel, and yet you don't really want to feel autumn, you want to enjoy the summer. So I kind of didn't want to get my winter scents out. And on those rainy days, I've been enjoying Idôle Nectar by Lancôme. Now this is a very weird one because notes suggest there is a lot of rose, popcorn, caramel. You know, based on notes, I was thinking it could be like super jammy rose. But this fragrance has this very weird, fruity, fresh aspect to it. And though the rose is noticeable, I wouldn't say that it is very forefront. And those sweet notes, they're there, but it's not super sweet either. So to me personally, it is not a super duper syrupy sweet either. So it's been actually quite nice, comforting scent for those rainy, cold days. Another one that I've been enjoying on those cold days is Cosmic. Yes, as a slightly snob myself, I would call it a sort of generic um, celebrity scent. But I think that though I really like, complex and very dark scents, I personally think that there is a time and place for simple, pleasant fragrances. And this is a very, very lovely and pleasant. It's slightly sweet, slightly musky, tiny bit powdery, a little bit of everything. You get the jasmine and peony and blood orange, there's vanilla, amber, I think, but a little bit of everything. And I think it's quite pleasant. and I'm quite surprised that I enjoy it. And if you know me, I really, really don't like tacky bottles. I love Chanel's. I wish that all of the bottles looked like Chanel's and Celine fragrances. And yeah, I don't have any Carolina Herrera. I don't have any Muglers because I've been really avoiding. I just can't. I really, really struggle with that kind of aesthetic. And I can admit, I can totally admit, I have bought a bottle that I would never thought I would buy. So I have bought Daisy Wild, and I actually do like this sort of a stem inside of that bottle. This fragrance is about a banana flower. There's a creamy sandalwood in there and a jasmine, so altogether I would describe it as slightly fruity, floral, a little bit green. There's also a wild, Daisy Wild Intense, and I was debating between those two. And if I would compare them, I would say that Daisy Wild Intense is much sweeter. I think there was amber inside, if I'm not mistaken. And the banana there is much more prominent. So in comparison, I would say that Daisy Wild Intense is much sweeter and much more banana, whilst the Daisy Wild is a little bit fresher, a little bit more playful kind. I've been actually enjoying banana note. I have tried niche fragrances with banana note, but to me they're way too sweet, way too gourmand, and not really my cup of tea, while Daisy Wild has actually surprised me. It's not gourmand. The banana here is, yeah, well, it is a banana flower, so it is sort of fruity, but there is also like kind of greenness from the stems of the flower. It's not very green, don't get me wrong, it's not very green, but there is sort of a little bit fresher, little bit more green in comparison to the other flanker. So let me know what you think of banana note, if you like it. I've been thinking about making a video on certain notes like Immortelle. That's one of my favorite notes, and I have lots of them, like Osmanthus, Neroli, lipsticky fragrances. Let me know if anything of that would be something you'd be interested in. I think the next tray of the July is going to be somewhat similar to this one, because based on weather forecast, July is going to be around 20 degrees and lower as well. So we'll see. Okay, so if you have tried anything from these, if you have any other lipsticky scents to recommend me or some fig, let me know. I'm very curious what you've been wearing this month. So let's catch up in a comment section and see you in the next one. Bye.